Such is the deviousness and audacity of the climate crisis scam about to be revealed that it is with great confidence we can claim it to be the scam of 2021. Like much of what will transpire over the coming years, it starts with the 2015 Paris Agreement. The IPCC was requested to provide a special report in 2018 on the impacts of global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The report was duly completed and released. The report predicted that global warming is likely to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius between 2030 and 2052 if it continues to increase at the current rate. The calculation of the current rate was in turn based on this statement that human activities are estimated to have caused approximately 1 degree Celsius of global warming above pre-industrial levels, with a likely range of 0.8 degrees Celsius to 1.2 degrees Celsius. This wide range raised eyebrows as the high estimate of 1.2 degrees Celsius is 50% higher than the low estimate of 0.8 degrees Celsius. But there was another much more serious problem. The precise figure for global warming at 2018 was 0.74 degrees Celsius, which is less than the 1 degree Celsius quoted by the IPCC, much less than the maximum of 1.2 degrees Celsius, actually 62% less, and even less than the minimum of 0.8 degrees Celsius. Just to emphasize the seriousness of this problem, if this statement is incorrect, then this statement cannot be correct. And if this statement is wrong, then it follows that the very assumptions upon which COP26 and the net zero emission strategy are based are fatally flawed. There therefore needed to be a fix. Before going into how the problem was fixed, we should quickly clarify that the actual figure for global warming in 2018 was indeed 0.74 degrees Celsius. To do this, we turn to the same special report. The IPCC definition of how global warming should be measured is carefully explained in Chapter 1. Global warming is measured by taking the average global temperature of the 30-year period immediately preceding the year for which you are taking the measurement, and comparing that average to the average for the period 1850 to 1900. We will now carry out the calculation for the 30-year period ending in 2018, the year of the special report. We are using the data source known as HadCRUT5, which is in fact the only source of the data that covers the entire period 1850 to 1900. It was developed and now maintained by the UK Met Office, Hadley Centre, and the Climatic Research Unit at the University of East Anglia. The HadCRUT4 dataset holds data that is anomalous to the period 1961 to 1990. We have adopted the convention of showing that period with a red dotted line. Using this data, we ask, what is the global average temperature anomaly for the period 1850 to 1900? The global average temperature anomaly is equal to minus 0.311 degrees Celsius. The next step is to ask what is the global average temperature anomaly for the 30-year period 1989 to 2018. It is 0.429 degrees Celsius. We can therefore say that global warming at the end of 2018 was 0.74 degrees Celsius. We come back to the fix, and the fix also involves the data source HadCRUT5. The fix to the problem involves a twist to the saying, often attributed to John Maynard Keynes, that when the facts change, I change my mind. However, in this case it is more of when the facts falsify my statements, I change the facts. And to do so, a revision to HadCRUT4 has been duly issued, named HadCRUT5. HadCRUT5 is not currently maintained monthly, but does coincidentally go to the end of 2018. And to cement the fix, users of the data are recommended to use HadCRUT5 to see how global temperature has changed since 1850. There are many references cited to explain the rationale behind the changes. And here is the end product. It does not look vastly different to HadCRUT4. The differences emerge when we use the data. We will now do just that to again calculate global warming at the end of 2018. What is the global average temperature anomaly over the period 1850 to 1900 according to HadCRUT5? HadCRUT4 had the global average temperature anomaly as equal to minus 0.311 degrees Celsius, while HadCRUT5 has the global average temperature anomaly at 0.356 degrees Celsius. The temperature for the base reference period used for the measurement of global warming has thus been lowered. The next step is to ask what is the global average temperature anomaly over the 30-year period, 1989 to 2018, according to HadCRUT5. HadCRUT4 says it is 0.429 degrees Celsius. HadCRUT5 says it is 0.501 degree Celsius. It has increased. So, whereas HadCRUT4 says global warming at 2018 was 0.74 degrees Celsius, HadCRUT5 says it is 0.857 degrees Celsius, which is above the 0.8 degrees Celsius specified in the special report. Mission accomplished. The facts have been changed. The conclusions are straightforward. Seeking to continually improve the data for global average temperature is perfectly proper and good scientific practice. However, the objectivity of the exercise must be questioned. Just a few examples will expose a bias, whether that bias is intentional or not. The very first year of 1850 was 0.37 degrees Celsius in HadCRUT4. It is now lowered to 0.418 degrees Celsius in HadCRUT5. With what degree of certainty could such a judgment, for it is a judgment, be made? Similarly, 1870 drops by 0.05 degrees Celsius on HadCRUT5. And look at 1878. 1878 has long been a problem for the climate establishment, as the HadCRUT4 measurement of plus 0.035 degrees Celsius made it warmer than the average of the entire 30 years of 1961 to 1990. HadCRUT5 solves the issue by now making it minus 0.11. More bias, this time in the other direction. After 1900 and onto more recent times, instead of temperature anomalies being lowered, they are now increased. 2010 goes up by 0.1 degrees Celsius. And perhaps the most outrageous revision of all, the very recent year 2016 has been revised upwards by more than 0.1 degrees Celsius to 0.933 degrees Celsius. Thus, our first major conclusion, HadCRUT5 lowers the baseline 1850 to 1900 global average temperature while raising the post-1900 global average temperature, thus automatically increasing the measurement of global warming since the 1850 to 1900 baseline. There is more than a hint that methods have been tuned to get the desired result. Building on that point, we come to subjectivity. HadCRUT5 adopts two methods: the gridding and ensemble generation methods of HadCRUT4, and a statistical infilling method. These methods will filter through into the other major datasets, such as Berkeley Earth. And Berkeley Earth makes the very, very important point that different statistical adjustments of the raw data can lead to significant differences in overall warming trends. Thus, building on point 1, we conclude that HadCRUT5 has increased the rate of global warming not through objective measurements, but through the subjective interpretation of statistical adjustments. Given the subjective nature of the new dataset, what are the uncertainties lurking behind the final results? The authors of the HadCRUT5 report and dataset admit that the analyses are subject to uncertainty. They name quite a few, such as spatial and temporal sampling of the globe, changes in measurement practice and instrumentation, siting of observing stations and the effects of changes in their nearby environment, and basic measurement error. In all, the word uncertainties is mentioned 33 times in the report, while uncertainty is mentioned 143 times. Thus, our third conclusion: there is much uncertainty contained in the data and in its interpretation. Which brings us to COP26, the Paris Agreement, and the net zero emissions strategy. As noted in the HadCRUT5 report, global near-surface temperature analyses are routinely used in the assessment of the state of the climate. They underpin our understanding of multi-decadal to centennial changes and the causes of those changes, and very relevantly are a key metric against which climate change policy decisions are made and progress against international agreements is measured. But this statement has been proven to be incorrect, and it is still incorrect using HadCRUT5, but slightly less so. At the end of 2018, global warming was not 1 degree Celsius and was not 1.2 degrees Celsius. It was, according to HadCRUT5, 0.857 degrees Celsius. Well, let's leave that big issue there and return to the top scam of 2021. But for the first time in climate science, we find so-called facts are being manufactured to suit the climate crisis narrative. In fact, when we consider that one of the contributing authors of HadCRUT5 was Professor Jones, you may well get a sense of déjà vu. Way back in 2010, the BBC reported that it was claimed that the stolen data show that some researchers including Professor Jones, have attempted to manipulate data in order to strengthen the argument that human activities are responsible for warming the planet. With this in mind, we have no hesitation in awarding HadCRUT5 the award of Top Climate Crisis Scam of 2021.